Welcome to another live stream on Monday nights with Spikes and Gills. I go live every Monday between 9 and 10 p.m. Let's see, as no one's with us right now, so I'm not going to get into the meats and potatoes of this live stream just yet. But I do have a treat for you, as the thumbnail and title implies. Let's see here. What the heck is this? Do not now. Hold on. So we'll get the computer going, get everything up that I need. Oh, I've got someone joining me right now. So if you're just joining us, oh, it looks like Jason Gibson. Look at that. He was here right on time, Jason. How you doing, buddy? You missed last Monday's live stream, I do believe, and it was a doozy. I think I went like nearly 2 hours. I don't think you would have stayed awake for the last Monday's live stream. So let's see who else. Oh, I see there's some others joining us too, buddy. Okay, if you're just joining us, go ahead, say hi, leave your comments below. Let me know who's joining. We have Joe. Opening day of gun, I shot a 8 point, 212 gutted. It was 170. Huh? Cool. Congratulations, Joe. All right. I think you'll see it says, Joe says, on opening day of guns, he is nice shot an 8-pointer. Does that 212? Oh, okay. It was 212 pounds. Dressed, he was 172. Nice. That's a nice buck, buddy. Let's get my email up here, along with the pictures I need. And we'll go from there. So those of you that are joining us now, just start to join us. Jason, let's see, nice buck, Joe, congrats. Yep. Jason's great at, really good at conversing with everybody. So all of you that are joining this live stream, I'd like you to share some comments below. First of all, say hi so I can see who it is that's joining the chat. And I want you to, just before I get into this Monday night's live stream story, the meats and potatoes of what this live stream's all about, I want to share my email, wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. I need to write that a lot clearer and better than that. But WildMaineOutdoors@gmail.com. wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. That's the email that you'll use to send your pics and story so that I can give you a shout out, share your deer hunting successes, your moose hunting success stories, bear hunting success stories, predator hunting success stories, whether it be coyote, bobcat, fox, whether or not you went on any hunt for that matter, whether it was an elk hunt, caribou hunt. If you have a story like that you want to share with some pics, email that at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. I'll give you a shout out, share your pics, share your story. You can join the chat, share a little bit more about it with everybody, and definitely ask questions in the chat. There's people like Jason and Joe and a bunch of other guys that from Western Maine and all across state, and some people from Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, people from out west that will join the chat. They can answer your questions and chat with you back and forth. Bunch of great guys and gals that have lots of knowledge, a lot of experience through the years that can answer some questions that you may have. Miranda Davis. What is your biggest buck? No, Miranda Davis, is that my sister? Miranda Davis, is that you, sis? That's my sister's name, for crying out loud, Miranda Davis. This could be a totally different Miranda Davis. But my sister's name is Miranda. She has a obviously a different father, so that's hence her last name being Davis. So you are not my sister, but you're a different Miranda Davis. So great to meet you, Miranda Davis. That's my sister's name, for crying out loud. What a coincidence. But to answer your question, my biggest racked buck's over there. Here, it's over that way, up that way, like on that wall over there. That buck was over 20 inches wide, an 8-pointer. That was probably 135 plus inch for a Maine. That was a Maine. I shot that buck with my bow. Shot this. This was my second biggest buck back behind me. 202-pound 9-point buck that I shot with my bow. I shot that one with my bow. 90% of the deer I've all shot with a bow and arrow. This was a bow 8-point buck. I shot this buck with my bow. That little 4-pointer with my bow. This bear I shot with my bow. That bear over here I shot with my bow. And more bear skulls. I have some deer mounts that I haven't done yet. I do my own taxidermy. Once I get all my own personal mounts caught up, they'll be on the wall. I'll have more bear mounts on the wall and some more buck mounts on the wall as well. See, that buck is huge. Thank you. Yeah, over 20-inch rack on a whitetail buck that's wide, 20+ inch width on a whitetail buck rack is a very wide rack. All right. Who else is joining us? We got Miranda, we got Joe, Jason. I know all of you are eager and waiting patiently for me to get into this week's story. But I'd like to see what we're up to. Quite a few people so far. I'm hoping we get a handful more of you folks joining us before I get into the meats and potatoes. So if you're just joining us now and you missed it, I shared my email, wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. Use that email to send your pics and stories along so I can give a shout out, share your story, your success stories, whether it be a deer hunting success story you want to share, bear hunting success story, moose hunting success story. Excuse me. I shouldn't even be doing these live streams, but I can't even talk. Throat's a little groggy for some reason. I do have allergies. I need to take my allergy pill. I have 5 cats and I'm allergic. Go figure that one out. Yeah, we're crazy cat people. I'll say Miranda Davis says I've shot a 10-pointer. Congratulations, Miranda Davis. Yeah, nice. All right, so let's bring up some pics. Let's get into this. Let's zoom in. So I know you're all waiting for me to get into this story right here. The story of this buck. Now that is a stud. That's a Maine monster right there. Not sure what it weighed. She didn't say what it weighed. Jason says, congrats, Miranda. Oh, yeah. See that, Miranda? You're getting a lot of shout-outs already just off the chat. So, yes, if you're just joining us live right now, this week's Monday night's live stream is going to be all about this story, the story of this buck. But I want you to share stories like this, success stories, similar to this, at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. Share your pics and story. Let's see, let's go back. Some other really cool photos. This is her husband, Evan. So this is Meaghan and Evan. Evan, he's just only a big buck hunter. He hasn't gotten one this year, but he was after a 13-point buck. This is her biggest buck to date. Not sure what it weighed. Looking at the body, Jason, you can probably attest to that. It doesn't look like a 200-pound buck to me, body-wise, but the rack, it's a big, heavy, mast rack. Really heavy rack. What else do we have for photos? We don't need to see that one. So this is Evan's father, I do believe, according to the story that I read. This is her husband's father. And all right, let's get into the story. All right, so what all of you need to know, a little backstory here. So now she went all bow season, not seeing shit. I let's see, there was some logging going on. For some reason, and I was asked, like, what gives? This year there was just a lot of disturbance going on. There was dump trucks coming and going every 20 minutes. Had it like a compost site, dumping gravel, building up the site not too far away. And when a dump truck drives off, empty, the tailgate comes down and just bangs, smashes the back of that truck. There was that going on like every 20 minutes, so like Monday through Friday. Like as far as my hunting went, anyways, scratch that. This isn't about me. I'm not going to talk about myself. Not right yet, anyway. Anyway, I then let's see, there's the logging going on. So every morning there was cutting trees from like 6:30 a.m. until about 1 p.m. And so then it would be quiet after 1. And then occasionally, as it got colder and the ground froze, there was logging trucks coming to get their loads. And so she didn't she didn't see much. I mean, there was a target buck in the beginning, I do believe, that she was after. And then, like, come November, when the rut started heating up, more and more does started coming into estrus, and the bucks started shifting from their summer fall ranges, early fall ranges, more towards higher doe concentrated type areas. The bucks, they do that. They just because the target buck you've been chasing all season disappears on you doesn't necessarily mean he's dead, or that doesn't necessarily mean he's not ever going to come back. You just need to make some adjustments yourself. He went where he could get more tail, where that buck could become more lucky, where he's most likely barely a half a mile or barely a mile away on the other side of the property or of his home range, not far from where you've been seeing him and where you've been chasing that buck. And in Meaghan's case, a buck she was chasing, it was probably it shifted like a half mile or more away. She was getting trail cam pics of it all October, but a few of them here and there, and then the buck was sighted and spotted by another hunter ways away, a long ways off from where she was hunting. Talk about frustrating. See, Joe says, I sent you a couple pictures. Awesome. Thanks, Joe. So what is your email again? It looks like you got it. But yes, Joe, it's wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. So you guys can send pics and stories along to that email, and I'll give you a shout out, share your story, show your pics and stuff. And for those of you that are just joining us, say hi in the chat. And if you have questions, shoot away. And great guys like Joe and Joe Dutil, Jason Gibson, Jason and Miranda, Mary from Georgia, and those from all you other guys that usually join me live. You can answer people's questions. A lot of the people that join me live are great at that. So now my biggest buck is 20 pointer. That's crazy. Did you see that, Jason Gibson? There's a guy that just come on and said he shot a 20-point buck. Crazy. But back to this story. So Meaghan says that when she hunts hard, hunts with all her heart, mind, and soul. And it's pretty much her therapy. Yeah, so that's a little bit more personal there. But a lot of hunters can relate to that. Most of us deer hunters, when it comes deer season, we're pretty much gone. We're really here, but we're not here, right? Like our minds are always on the deer and on the hunt, and the hunt never ends for us, really. Pretty much, if you're a die-hard whitetail deer hunter, the hunt never ends. We're almost hunting year round, and that just we're always like maybe trimming shooting lanes. We're doing do-it-yourself like deer habitat restoration projects out in our hunting areas, wherever we're clearing areas for future food plots, or building food plots, or setting tree stands for future hunts that where we may have like noticed something. Like I didn't know if any of you knew this, but I've learned this in the last couple of years. I've learned this more and learned a lot about this, and that you can keep historical data, year-to-year data on certain target bucks, but like big mature bucks living in your hunting area, and keep year-to-year data on certain older mature does that come into estrus every year at the same time frame, same within like a 48 hour window of the same time frame, same day each year. By doing that, by continuing to keep that historical data of when there was multiple good shooter bucks, and maybe the mature buck you've been chasing showed up in a certain area because of a doe that was in estrus, you can bet all your money, put all your money down that next hunting season, as long as that doe's still alive and those bucks are still alive, and they haven't been run off of there, as long as the area hasn't been manipulated in any way, shape, or form by human disturbance, you can bet all your money that that doe will come in heat right around that same time frame. You want to take your time off work for that week window when you notice all the estrus, the does coming in estrus, and all that heavy rut activity going on. You want to be in your stand in that area, put your time in, and you'll most likely, like, it's almost guaranteed you're going to shoot a buck, tag out that week if you do that. So that, didn't know if any of you knew that you can do that. Can just because you didn't get a nice mature buck this year doesn't mean you won't succeed next year. And that if you look at all your trail cam pics and from years prior, way back, and start establishing a pattern going on, and when all of a sudden your certain camera blew up with several bucks coming and going different directions, a doe coming by with her tail horizontal, signaling that she a doe in heat, and then bucks behind her. Keep tabs on that. Keep historical data on that from all your cameras, and then plan your hunts accordingly to be in those general locations at that same similar time frame the following hunting season. Your success rate's going to skyrocket, going to go up immensely. See, Game Dinah says, hi, hey, how are you doing? Game Dinah, I recognize that channel name. Thank you for joining this live stream. Did you see that, Game Dinah? This crazy kid, Ben, said he shot a 20-pointer. It is mounted on my wall. He has a 20-point buck. That's just impressive. That's cool, bud. Congratulations. And see, I sent you, and Joe, thank you for that email. I'll be checking on that email, those pics you sent Joe in a little bit. And, all right, so, yeah, keep chatting away, everybody. Say hi. Says, yeah, buddy, congrats on your buck. I'm ready for this snow tomorrow. Yeah, the snow will help. For those in Maine that have not tagged out yet, we have snow coming that may help those last-minute deer hunters in Maine be successful. There's going to be some tracking snow. Let's see. So, back to Meaghan's story about this big buck. So yesterday, and this is her story. Yesterday, when I woke up around 4 a.m., I read a post of a hunter who spoke to his late father while in his tree stand and asked him to help him on his hunt. I thought, well, if it worked for him, maybe it will work for me. Evan's father, Warren, was such an inspiration to me as a hunter. He loved it. Warren loved hunting. The way his face would light up while hearing or telling a hunting story was priceless. I see the same face when I look at my husband telling his stories. We miss him every day, and boy, do I wish so badly he was here to see his grandkids hunt and fish the same way he does. His legacy will never die in this family. So anyway, and again, this is from Meaghan's point of view. So anyway, I decided to give it a whirl. I've prayed many times from my stand or blind, but never really to anyone else. I said, Warren, if you can hear me right now, could you please send a big buck my way? I'm sure many of you can relate in some way, shape, or form. I mean, how many of you have said a prayer to a loved one or something, or asking like a family member that passed that was also a big hunter, and then moments later you had the big one standing in front of you. I've heard that story similar to this many times through the years. The more and more we hunt, and the more we meet other people around in our circle, other hunters. More stories we share with one another. We will come. Ultimately, we're going to come across stories like this, and we can relate. So this is very touching, very heartwarming. So I'm going to continue. Let's see any questions or anything. No, I think everyone's just listening intently. So a few hours pass. So after she gave out this prayer, spoke to Warren. Warren is her husband Evan's father, who passed some time ago. He was a great deer hunter, and everyone loved hearing his deer hunting stories. So a few hours pass, and I send Evan a message. Holy bleep, this wind is brutal. So it was windy. I do know she was in a tree saddle, just swaying back and forth in that wind. So all while, yep, she goes on to say, all the while shaking like the leaves, which had already fallen from the tree I was in. Snot and tears flowing like a faucet. Yeah, we've all been there, Meaghan. Yeah, we've all. And the cold makes my nose run. How many of you have a wicked runny nose? It runs like a faucet during the cold, windy days when you're out there hunting. You want to make sure you have plenty of handkerchiefs with you. So I hear a branch snap. Whoa, what do you think that means, everybody? So she hears a branch, that faint branch. We've all heard that a time or two. That makes us get ready, get our gun or bow ready, turn on our cameras and get our cameras ready. So she hears the branch snap, and she thought, oh, that's probably just the wind. It was windy. Then she hears a 200-pound squirrel to her left. We've all experienced that too, or our heart just almost leaped out of our chest. We've had to grab it, pull it back in, and we ever so slowly turn our head and turn our eyes to look, and it's a freaking gray squirrel or a red squirrel hopping in the leaves and stuff. Man, I hate it when that happens. This is Game Dynas's main goal. Yeah, nice. I think you were referring to Game Dyna, right? Like maybe tracking one down. Game Dyna says, Justin, what was your main goal this season? Did you meet it? No, I didn't meet my main goal. My main goal was to shoot Curly. I have Curly's shed antlers from the last 2 years in a row in my shed. But I did, last year I shot one of my 2 target bucks, Game Dyna. And that was Shorty right here over my left shoulder. He's a 202-pound 9-point buck. I shot with my bow on Halloween Day. He was running with Curly. He was one of the 2 target bucks I was after last year, and I happened to harvest one of my target bucks last year, which is Shorty. He had, at 2 years old, he had really short points and only 8 points. And he was going to always have short points, but at 3 years old, which he is here, he grew a couple more inches to each point, and he grew a 9th point, and he field dressed over 200 pounds. But this year I was after the other buck that was running with him, and they were bros. They were a little small bachelor group of 2. Him and Curly were running together in the summer, and I had pics of them in the velvet feeding together. And come fall, closer to the rut, they split up. Shorty was hanging. We're near my highest doe density area. I was able to figure him out pretty easily, but he shifted more towards one area of my hunting area, and closer towards all the different doe groups, and the majority of where the does were. Curly disappeared altogether. I don't know where he goes in the fall during the rut, but he always returns. I just recently got a trail cam pic of him returning back to the home range, back to my hunting area. He's still alive and doing well, and I'm hoping to catch up with him next year. But I did get 3 deer this year game dine. I got 2 does and a buck. I filled my freezer with plenty of deer meat. So how about you, Game Dinah? Are you meeting your goals so far? I hope you're successful. Any other questions, anybody, before I continue with the story? Let's see. No. Okay, so Meaghan hears that faint branch snap. She's like, oh, it's probably just the wind, she's thinking. And then she's looking around, she spots a 200-pound squirrel jumping around the leaves. We've all been there. So while shivering and questioning my life decisions, I catch a glimpse off to my right of the big buck I requested from my father-in-law. I swear I could feel him right there with me. So her prayer was answered. She prayed to Warren, asked her father-in-law, who was now deer in heaven, chasing deer in heaven, and he blessed her with this big buck. And off to her right, she catches the glimpse of it coming in. And while hearing Evan's voice in my head saying, Meaghan, take a resting shot, I position myself in my saddle, lean against the tree, watch him for a few seconds, and that feel like hours. That we've all felt this before. It felt like hours thrown through before the buck presented itself with a shot. So the buck strolled through the brush. He gets to an opening. So yeah, I'm sure that we can all relate to that. Definitely when the big bucks stepping out, it seems like they take forever. Yeah, and they always stick to thick cover, thick brush. And they're reluctant to break from cover. Hence why these bucks get so old and big. And they stay with cover, thick cover. They make it hard for deer hunters to kill them. But if you're in the strategically put in the right place, in the right spot, the right time, and things like this can come together. But what felt like hours going by before that buck finally started moving its way towards her. And he gets to an opening, I think. So the buck gets to her shooting lane that she had picked out, and she let out that we've all done that stop deer, right? Whether you're at full draw with your bow or you just need that deer to stop for a standing still shot. So she goes, meh, makes that sound, and he stops behind more brush. Oh, man. I didn't know that. How sucky is that? You stop your buck and you just made a noise up in that tree from meh. And so she didn't have a clear shot, apparently. So she's shaking at the knees. Buck fever has to be setting in right here. And she took some deep breaths to regather her thoughts and kind of focus and aim and get settled in. And the buck finally takes a few more steps. and stops again. And I aim and shoot, she said. So finally, on the second opening, the second time he stops, Meaghan gets a shot off at this buck. And then he just walks away. Needless to say, he gave me a run for my money. And Warren knew he needed to throw a tease in with the request I sent him. He was always teasing me. It's only appropriate that I have a hunting story to be vivid about, and the way he told his very own. So this was such an emotional roller coaster hunt. I thought I missed. The buck just walked away. And I remember from what she said, the buck bedded, laid down, walks away, beds down, head still up. She could see the headgear. And you can imagine she's just shaking, and she's probably disgusted with herself, probably thinking she missed it or wounded it. And so, yeah, just this is what she relayed to me. Yeah, the buck ended up bedding down about 70 yards from her tree saddle where she was hanging in the tree. And the buck expired about 70 yards away. Although the shot placement wasn't ideal, it worked out, and I didn't miss, and the buck didn't suffer. First year saddle hunting. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was her first year saddle hunting. So learning new techniques, really paying close attention to weather, wind direction, and thermals, and taking scouting very seriously. So how awesome is that? She's that serious about hunting, guys, that she got into, and saddle equipment isn't cheap. She bought saddle gear. She's learning new hunting techniques, really learning to pay close attention to weather conditions and to plan your hunts accordingly, and paying attention to wind direction and thermals and what all that means, finding thermal hubs and figuring out how thermals play a role in deer survival, deer safety, and how thermals play a role in us getting busted by that buck we're after. I mean, how many of you have gone out there in the woods? You're going towards the bedding area where you know that big buck is laying that you've been chasing, and you got the wind in your face for some odd reason, and you're not making hardly any noise, and you're being stealthy and it's quiet, and that wind's hitting you in the face. All of a sudden, that buck gets up and runs away, bounds off. How many of you have had that experience? Why that is because of thermals. That buck wasn't laying where he was because of the wind direction, the prevailing wind. He was laying where he was because of the thermals. It was a thermal hub, probably the lowest elevation point around that area where you were, and the thermals were pulling in to where he was laying, pulling in all that surrounding scent, and he could smelt you coming because of thermals. And that's, yeah. So, and Meaghan also was taking scouting more seriously. She did this year. Kudos to her, man. She did a great job. So Meaghan goes on to say, I can't thank my husband enough, her husband Evan, for all his help. Although most days I got so frustrated at him for not taking me hunting and making me go alone. It made me a better hunter. I still lack the confidence, but I'm gaining every day. This hunt was huge for me. Huge thanks to my mother-in-law, Clarice and George, for helping with the kiddos and pushing me on days I didn't want to get out of bed to go hunting. You guys rock every day and are so appreciated. My best buddy T-Roy for being there for me to help with kids too, listening to me complain and telling me to get over myself and just go hunt. Greg has always been such a huge inspiration. He is so knowledgeable. He never gave up on me and always encouraged me to keep at it, even when I felt like giving up. This hunt was for Warren. I owe it to him to share this story with all of you. If you read it and it resonates with you, keep hunting. You'll learn something new every day about yourself in the great outdoors. Then you can pass it on to your kids to keep it going for generations to come. So it was her November 25th. It was November 25th, 2025. She shot her biggest buck to date on November 25th, 2025. He'd been on the chase, I'd say, tipping the scales at 170 pounds. Okay, so I didn't think it was a 200-pound body, but that's a stud of a buck. 170-pound monster 8-point racked buck. And I think his rack weighs about half of that weight, I would say. That rack is huge. So good luck to all still out there chasing these amazing animals. There's nothing that can compare, in my opinion, and I think we can all agree. So let's all take another look at that, at this buck, everybody. Check this out. So we'll zoom in. Look at that. Yeah, I'd say that rack did weigh about half of its dressed weight, wouldn't you guys say so? 170-pound Maine buck, huge rack. Congratulations, Meaghan. You made Warren proud, your father-in-law Warren very proud, and obviously Evan, this is her husband Evan, congratulating her. Look at that. Look at the width. He's actually pretty, is that 20 inches wide? That's almost 20 inches wide, I think. So that ear, about to that ear, probably from ear tip to ear tip. See, my 20-inch wide buck is beyond the ears, about an inch on each side. This is ear to ear, so this is probably an 18-inch wide buck, 17 to 18-inch wide, I'd say, because I shot a 20-inch wide buck that I've got on my wall, and it was about an inch past this ear and an inch past that ear. But that is a monster racked buck. Yeah, she's going to have that on her wall. Awesome. So congrats, Meaghan, on a great Maine buck. So what did all of you think of that story? Jason Gibbons says, that is a great buck. Congrats, Meaghan. Jason Gibbons says, scouting for deer season is a year-round activity and one of my favorite parts of hunting. Yeah, mine too, buddy. The hunt never ends, right, Jason? The hunt never ends. So what did all of you think? What did all of you think of Meaghan's story? So, if you would like your story shared on the Spikes and Gills live stream on a Monday night, I go live every Monday nights, 9 to 10 p.m. Sometimes I go beyond 10, depending on how the chat's going. If there's a conversation going on through chat and we're answering people's questions, stuff, I'll go longer. And it depends on what I'm sharing. If I keep coming up more, my mind is just boiling with information about deer and deer hunting. I just like to pour it all out, share it with all of you. So if you have a story similar to this, a hunting success story, doesn't matter what type of hunt, just any hunting success story whatsoever. If you have a good one you want to share on the Spikes and Gills live stream and you have some pics to go along with it, share it at wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. WILDMAINEOUTDOORS, wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. So Joe Dutil sent me an email while doing this live stream. Oh yeah, there he is. Says, I shot my buck at 10 yards and he chased a spike off opening day. See, funny, I wish I got the bigger buck. What's funny, Joe, you want to know something funny? I shot a spike, like a trophy 11-pointer. I shot like a trophy spike. It was my 6th spike buck I shot in the state of Maine. But it was like over 12, 13-inch spikes. And then short time, when I was home having dinner, sitting on the couch, got a notification on cell trail camera, across the swamp. One of the bucks I'd been chasing since archery season tripped that camera across the swamp from where I shot the spike buck. I think that my shot jumped him, made him run across the swamp to another stand on the other side and got his pictures. And he was looking my way, sniffing the wind, and looking my direction where I had just shot, where I was looking for this buck. So he may have been coming in behind the spike buck, but there was barely 10 minutes left of light. I was calling to a deer calling, and the buck I ultimately harvested this year came into the calls and came wicked close. I shot mine at like 25 yards, Joe. So you see that, everybody? Jason shot his buck at 10 yards. I'm about to share this buck with all of you right now. Let's check this out. Let's check her out, man. Zoom in a little bit. Wow, this is a nice buck, Joe. So, Joe, are you a Maine? Was this a Maine buck, Joe? Are you a Maine deer hunter, or do you hunt another state? So here's Joe Dutill, and here's this nice buck. Shot it at 10 yards. Looks like an 8-pointer. That is a nice buck. See this, everybody? What's this pick? Let's check this one out. Oh yeah, there he is. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's that? A 9-pointer? Is that a 9th point down there? I thought it was an 8-pointer. What's this pick? Oh, and he got a doe. Fill in the freezer. So Joe, you was this in Maine? Yeah, Maine. Shot my buck at 10. So Joe, these are Maine deer. See that, Jason Gibson? He's showing us up, buddy. So me and my pal Jason Gibson, that's on here with us live right now. We shot spike bucks this year, but it was a 3 deer year for me. I got 2 does and that big, my trophy spike buck. But last year, congratulations, Joe Dutill. Last year I shot with my bow and Howland. This buck, this 202-pound 9-point buck right here with my bow. This was last year's trophy buck for me. And I'll got some other deer here and deer over there and rabbits. And I've got over here my 20, some more bucks there. I've got more in the freezer, more buck capes in the freezer. I need to finish all my buck mounts and get them on the wall and my deer. I do my own taxidermy, so I need to pull my thumb out of my beep and get going on my own personal mounts. I've got some other stuff I got to do for some friends, but anywho's it. This year was a 3 deer year for me. I'll do that. I'll hunt like 2 years in a row, get in multiple deer. I'll shoot like a mediocre, but I might end up getting like a full 4-point or 3-pointer, a little 6-pointer or something, or 7-pointer, small 2-year-old buck maybe, and a couple does. But then every 3rd year, this is how my hunting career always goes. How many of you can relate, especially in Maine? For those of you that are joining us live or on here, if you're a Maine hunter, how does your hunting career go for you? What's your hunting pattern? Mine is like maybe like 1 or 2 years of multiple deer years, like a small young buck, 1.5 to 2-year-old buck, several does, and then like the 3rd year will be like the trophy buck hunt. Like last year was that year. This shot this buck with my bow, and it happened to be the only deer I got that last year, but it was a trophy buck for me. And that's how my hunting career has gone. And then I shoot black bear about every couple years. But I've gotten bear the last 3 years in a row, though, guys. I think my personal best with bear hunting is 3 years in a row, having successful bear hunts. But traditionally speaking, my black bear hunting career is always like every other year. I'll get like skunked 1 year, but then the following year get a bear. I've been like getting a bear like about every other year. But these last 3 years in a row, I've shot black bear. So let's see, Joe says, what do you think he scores and how wide? All right, okay, so hold on, Joe. So everybody, those of you that are still with us, how much do you think this buck scores and what he weighs? So Joe Dutill sent me an email. I want anyone else that wants to share your story, share your hunting successes, share them with wildmaneoutdoors@gmail.com. So what do you think this buck weighs and scores? Oh, that's a heavy rack. It's tall, heavy mass, long points. Oh, 120, and probably the rack might score 120 something, I'd say. Low 120s, maybe 125. Let's see. Let's look at this one. All right, I'm a little shaky, but what do you think this buck would score, everybody? Rack-wise. And the buck Oh, it's long. Jason did that. Jason Dutill. Was it Jason Do? No, it's Joe. Sorry, Jason. I'm calling some other guy Jason. His name's not even Jason. So Joe Dutill, or Joe anyway, asked me what I think this buck weighed. It looks like it went over 200. That's a big head, big blocky head, really wide shoulder. I think he did go over 200 dressed. And the rack, I think the rack, Joe, probably was. So here's my last year's Halloween buck. I was in my Halloween t-shirt. I had to go. I just come from trick-or-treating down Main Street, obviously in the daylight, and I had to go trick-or-treating later on, but I was wearing a Halloween shirt under my. I had shot that buck on Halloween night with my bow last year. 202-pound 9-point buck, shot in Maine with a bow. And that's him on the wall right back there, right there. Yeah. So, yeah, Joe, I think your buck dressed over 200, am I right? And see, as well, I'm waiting for Joe's answer. Jason Gibson says, my seasons have been a lot of so close but not quite moments. Finally got a spike this year and enjoying the eats out of the freezer. Nice. So his hunt have been a lot of so close but not quite moments. Yeah, they had a lot of Maine hunters, Jason, can relate to that for sure, for sure. I put in a lot of hours. I put in over 150 hunting hours over that this season and got 3 deer, got a bear. Went on a moose hunt with my buddies and we were successful at that, getting the moose. I got turkey. Yeah, it's good to fill the freezer and have plenty of meat. So Joe says it was only 172 pounds. What? Bummer. I bet you were saddened to find that out, Joe. I bet you were certain that buck dressed over 200 pounds. I think that most of us, if we shot that buck of that stature, would think it went over 200. So you think he's an 8 or 9 point? I thought I saw in one of the photos 9th point. Is it a 9? I think it's a 9-pointer, isn't it, Joe? That 9th, what I thought to be the 9th point, is it at least 1 inch long? If it measures a good solid inch, you can count it as a point for sure, hands down. So maybe you got yourself a 9-pointer. Well, let's see. Well, look at this. This counts as a point right here. See that? That's a 9th point. That was probably exactly like an inch long, but that counts as a point. So if that 9th point is at least that long or longer, you can definitely count it as a point. All right. Who else is with us live? Moving around. Oh, let's see. Any other questions, everybody? So those of you that are just joining us live, I'm sorry you missed tonight's story of the buck, that of Meaghan's buck, that big. It was her biggest buck to date. It's a monster racked buck, an 8-pointer. So Game Dinah says, I'd call that a 9 for sure. So Game Dinah's still with us. Awesome. Thanks for still sticking around, Game Dinah. Yeah, oh, Game Dinah, did you see Joe's pics? Do I need to bring Joe's pictures back up? Anybody? So did everyone see Joe's pics of his buck? It definitely looked like it would have dressed over 200 pounds. And I think, Joe, that the rack probably is a good 120 plus inch rack. Maybe be close to 125, that minimum Pope and Young or whatever score. So Game Dinah says, dinner equals dinner, Maine. Like, oh, Dinah. Cool. Oh, that's great. Great explanation on that one. I was wondering about your channel name. So thanks for that, Game Dinah. So dinner equals dinner with a Maine accent. Nice, that's cool. Yeah. Thank you for the explanation. Yes, I did see it in nice one. Okay, so Game Dine, saw your pics, Joe. Yeah, see that, Joe? A bunch of people that are with us live saw your pics, so I'm glad to have given you that shout out. And Joe's a Maine hunter. He shot that buck in Maine. That was another nice, beautiful Maine buck. The story of I shared tonight, that was of a Maine buck. Maine has some nice bucks around. If if you're really hardcore, really heavily into deer hunting, and you put in your time, like I put in over 150 hours this hunting season since September and through to November, I put in over 150 hours, like 8+ days of full day sitting, full day hunts, not leaving the woods at all. But it all paid off. In the end, I got 3 deer. I had a 3 deer year. This year I got 1 with my bow, 1 with a shotgun, and 1 with a rifle. So, and I got my Maine black bear and went out on a moose hunt, got a great trophy moose with my buddies. Put that on the YouTube channel. That moose hunt. Well, actually, all of you that are with me tonight on this live stream probably saw that moose hunt already. I uploaded a video of that hunt on my Spikes and Gills YouTube channel. So when you leave this live stream tonight, if you haven't seen that moose hunt, I highly recommend that video. That most recent moose hunt upload on my channel. Definitely go check that out, because that was a great hunt. And then all the bear hunting content too. I recommend all that to all of you to binge watch all my bear hunting episodes, my uploads from this past bear hunting season. So let's see. Data Monkey, hey man, nice. Data Monkey, yeah. I've got a quick question. Tomorrow I'm going out. We've got rain starting at noon. Any tips for rain when in moderate rain? Jason Gibson, Game Diner. Joe, who else was messaging? Joe, and then P. Wing says hi. P. Winning says I'm a kid. Oh yeah. Who else am I missing? Crazy kiddo. So all of you that I just mentioned. So Jason's already getting on it. Oh wait, no, what's Jason saying? I use a 20 gauge slug to drop mine. What are all the other Maine hunters using to drop theirs? Anyway, so Data Monkey has a question, Jason Gibson. Jason, Game Diner, and Joe, everyone else, help answer his question. I'm going to give my 2 cents, but I want all of you everyone else chime in on this one. What's everyone's take on hunting in the rain? Now, if you follow Deer and Deer Hunting YouTube channel, watch the Deer and Deer Hunting's podcast, listen to the Deer and Deer Hunting's podcast, and such and so forth, so on. And just through the years, I've done your thorough research, listening to podcasts, reading up on whitetail deer, and from personal hunting experience, from actually getting out there, always being just constantly scouting, being out there observing deer on windy days, rainy days, snowy days, just getting the experience. Yeah, we've all learned. Most experienced deer hunters have quickly learned that you don't shoot them sitting on the couch. That just because it's raining doesn't mean the deer are not still going to get up and feed. They still need to eat. They still have to go get the groceries. That if there are any does still hanging on to estrus, there's still the last minute few mature does coming into estrus. That's going to get the bucks up and moving, keep the bucks moving constantly. And obviously we're leading in towards the post rut, the last part of the rut, where that's just where your yearling does, your does that are not even a year old yet. And this isn't fair to their brothers, but because the female fawns become sexually mature before they're even a year old, whereas male siblings, the male fawns, don't even become sexually mature until they're a year and a half old. How fair? It's not fair to the males, but so you got your yearling does coming in heat, hence the post rut. You got that coming on, and rain is not going to stop. There isn't any bit of type of weather, whether it be heat, rain, snow, wind, that's going to stop a doe coming into estrus. No matter what, the rut still is going to occur, still go on. So you're going to still have a bout of movement, still fair amount of bucks up and on their feet, searching for those last minute does. And they obviously, all deer, does, yearlings, bucks, doesn't matter, have to eat, rain or shine. And light rain's really good. I don't know what it is about a light like a light mist and a light rain, or intermittent showers, like a little short passing shower and then clearing and then another shower. But weather like that fires the deer up. I've noticed a lot of deer movement. And I mentioned Deer and Deer Hunting YouTube channel, Deer Hunting's podcast, and their magazines and stuff, so forth, so on. The host, what's his name? But anyways, the host of Deer and Deer Hunting, he always talks about rainy day deer activity. So that it's still pretty good. I mean, the deer movement still happening, man, rain or shine. So don't let the rain discourage you at all, Data Monkey. So definitely get out. So go in the thickets, in the bedding areas. Nice. Yep, so there. So Game Dine says exactly, they gotta eat, rest, and make little deer, regardless of the weather. So got mine coming to check its scrape line in light rain between heavier showers. Yes, they do go hunting all over the USA. I don't hunt all over the USA, but I got a New Brunswick black bear right here. Yeah, that's a New Brunswick. That's a Canada black bear right here. I go to Canada black bear hunting. I shot that bear with my bow in New Brunswick, Canada. Let's see, I've got Joe says you should do a food plot for the late hunting. It works well. They have to. Yes, food. Well, this time of year, obviously later in the year, the rut has wound down to almost to nothing as far as rut goes. 98+% of your does, your mature older does, have come and heat cycled into estrus at some point in time and have been bred. And the bucks now, they're going to concentrate on feeding. They need to replenish what was lost. All the bucks, they need come. It's getting colder. Snow is coming. Food is where it's at right now, late season obviously, but the bucks aren't out of the woods just yet, though, with the whole mating thing and chasing does. Those little itty bitty yearling does are going to come into estrus at some point here soon. For the next couple weeks, there's going to be the last few does. Those yearling does coming into heat, and hence the post rut. You got your pre rut, peak rut, post rut. Post ruts are coming on. So absolutely, Joe. Just had a decent 8 on my plot. They got to replenish all that energy spent in the rut. That's right. Food's where it's at, right? I mean, a lot early, for all intents and purposes, the easiest times to hunt a mature trophy buck is early bow season, like the first week of October, when it's like they're strictly bed to feed, and you've got them pinned down. They're bedding, where they're eating, and they don't know you exist. If you have a foolproof entry route to your stand site and a foolproof exit, so that deer aren't catching your scent, deer aren't seeing you, hearing you, smelling you, and that especially that buck you're after. Early season can be where it's at, and catching that buck coming to feed in the evening, and mainly just focusing on evening sits too. And morning hunting, I wouldn't booger up your best bed to feed spot early season, trying to get in there in the morning, because that buck isn't going anywhere. Mature trophy bucks, early season, early October, early bow season, and now in late season, the same type of hunting tactics you'd use in early bow season, you can use now in late season when they're doing the bed to feed thing. And all, but they've been run hard. They've been hunted. There's been a lot of human disturbance. A lot of hunters in the woods. That for all on the leaves are off the trees. All your herbaceous, broadleaf, herbaceous, high, chest high, waist high type vegetation has browned up, dried up, and top flattened down, and the leaves are off the trees, so they're exposed more. Your deer are they're in those cedar thickets and those tamarack, cedar, like balsam fir type thickets. They're in the swamps. They're in the thickest parts of your property for bedding, for traveling, for finding and weaving their way in through their home range. They're sticking to the thickest cover possible that's there on your property, because everything else is dried up. Leaves are off the trees. They're exposed everywhere else. So, but you can use similar hunting tactics now to get your buck that you would have used back in early season, because the bed to feed pattern, right? The food's where it's at now, as it where it's at. Same thing with early season. So as Justin says, no game. Dan says, Justin, what have they been feeding on up your way? Nothing for acorns or nuts here, so I've seen a lot of grasses and blueberry leaves. Right now, what the heck? So, this is going to sound crazy, but funguses, mushrooms, lichens. I'll be putting out a video at some point in time. I want to post a video on my YouTube channel about the strangest things that I've seen a whitetail deer eat. And one of them is red squirrel blood. This was when I was young, and I mean, all of us, as young hunters, we're bloodthirsty. We're killers. When we're young, we're trigger happy and bloodthirsty. We want to get all the experience under our belt that we can. So we plunk at squirrels, shoot a ton of squirrels, birds. And now I consider a red squirrel to be the cutest thing on the planet Earth, and I just love watching them. But I used to make it a competition with my friends in the woods with all 22s to see who could shoot the most red squirrels. And I used to thin them out constantly around my house. And I don't know, I think my heart grew 10 times bigger. I mean, and now I get pretty emotional when I shoot deer now. I almost shed tears. I respect. And you still always have to respect life and the whole circle of life and respect life in general. And so, I mean, but I'm going on a tangent here, but the weirdest, I was talking about the weirdest things that I've seen whitetail deer eat. And one of them, I've got to put a video out about this. One of them is, I had shot a red squirrel with my arrow going in for lunch when they get down on my stand after a morning sit. And I just buried that red squirrel under the leaves at the base of my tree. And the little buck come in. And he went right to that squirrel, pawed the ground, exposed the squirrel, and proceeded to lick the squirrel blood. And there's some other crazy things I've seen whitetail deer eat. But see, it says, so winter rye, cold tolerant, and will grow just about. Yeah, that's food plot stuff. But let's see, there's this viney like stuff I've got too. I used to know what it was called. But there's pretty much anything green, anything still palatable, and that's still green, still holding its green, and anything that looks like it would have good protein, good fat content, good nutrition for the deer they're going to eat right now. Obviously, if they're bedding in swamp environments near water, in low elevation where there's streams and lots of water, moisture, And in the swampy environment, there's a tons of stuff for them to eat around there, nibble on, graze on. So, let's see. Game Dinah says, Jason, good to know. The few apples we have around have already been cleaned. Yeah, the turkey. I've cleaned house on my apple tree right in my yard. My family have been enjoying watching the turkey in my yard, picking off every last apple in the apple tree. The deer were coming pretty steadily. And I'm sure all of you know this. If you've been hunting long enough, then all of you deer hunters know that apples are a mature buck's weakness. Mature trophy bucks, they love. If there's apples nearby, man, they cannot resist the apples. The apples are where it's at with mature trophy. There was one early season bow hunt I was on. It was an expanded archery bow hunt in Maine, and in September, like middle September. Apples were ripe at that point on the trees, and sitting there behind my ghost blind, and I looked to my right and see a whole string of deer come by, some does and yearling small bucks and their yearlings. A bunch of younger deer and does went, younger bucks and does went this way. They kept walking straight from left to right. Behind this string of deer was a 10-point buck. Monster buck had just recently shed his velvet. There were little strips of velvet hanging off him. There was still a lot of redness into his rack. Still a lot of blood showing. Hadn't a lot of blood that hadn't dried up yet completely on his rack. So he had just recently, very recently, in the last day or two, shed his velvet. And he didn't like an about face. He went, that whole string of deer went this way, but this 10-point buck went, turned just like that, a 90-degree turn, and came right down. The pipe came right to me. Had to stand up from my hammock seat. The ghost blind was covering me from here, but not from here. I had to turn around, use the tree trunk as cover to break up my outline. And I drew my bow back and anchored and waited. And he came to within 10 yards of me. But I was pointing at the ground. So I had to move quite a bit. I had to bring my bow up on him. I just needed my top pin to touch him to get on. As soon as I saw my top pin on Brown, I released the arrow, but I was still aiming too low. That arrow sailed right under his brisket and just grazed his elbow, his leg, just nicked his leg, and the arrow buried in a tree, the base of a tree on the other side of him, and he bounded off unscathed, and he was fine. But where he was heading was for the apple orchard, the apple trees. There was a whole bunch of apple trees out in the field off the edge of the woods where I'd entered, where I'd come in for my evening sit. He was heading right for those apples. And that was a big, mature, like 3-plus-year-old, if not a 4-year-old 10-point buck that I blew it on. It would have been my first and only 10-point buck at this point in time. I got a 9-point buck here, but yeah, he would have been my first 10-point buck I had ever shot. He was the first 10-point buck I ever shot at, but I missed him. The arrow went right under him and just scratched his leg. There was just a few hairs and a little bit of muscle, like a little bit of meat from his leg on the broadhead, but it was, for the most part, a clean miss. Joe says, I shot my 7-point buck under an apple tree. Nice, yeah. The apples, man, apples are a buck's weakness. So it's too bad, Game Dinah, that you don't have some apples to go sit over. You could probably seal the deal that way. So, yeah, late season, man. I'm finding that the deer are just they're heavy on the grasses and on the clovers. Anything green, man, they're gobbling up right now. So let's see, jewelweed. How many of you know this, that whitetail deer absolutely love jewelweed? Jewelweed is that plant that is also loaded with water content. And also, how many of you know this, that a majority of the water, the moisture, the water that deer get is through the plants they eat. So they don't necessarily need to drink from standing water as much. They get a lot of what they need for water from the plants they eat, but they will still occasionally go and drink some from streams and ponds and lakes and puddles and stuff, but not as much as some people might think. But jewelweed is loaded with water, and that's that plant that has those little orange flowers that ripen at some point in time. And there's a seed in that orange flower that we can eat. That humans, it's an edible seed for us. And jewelweed's a medicinal plant that we can use that you can steep into a tea, medicinal type tea for. It's rich or high in vitamin C and other vitamins and nutrients that help fight colds and sicknesses and stuff. But deer, jewelweed's is like candy to deer. And that jewelweed grows in ditches and any drainage ditch type areas, anywhere where there's tons of water, moisture content. And hence, if jewelweed's growing prevalent there in a place like that, what else do you think is around? Other broadleaf herbaceous. Jewelweed's a broadleaf herbaceous type plant, and there's like cow vetch, and there's what are some others? Goldenrod, and they eat parts of the goldenrod too. Deer, anything green right now. Mushrooms, your funguses, lichens, they'll eat that stuff. And budding, obviously, deer will eat the buds off of birch, maple, alder, any saplings like that. Cuttings, or like 2 to 3 year old or older clear cuts and logging operations, like areas like that. Those are good places to go to late season, looking for deer feeding, grazing around, feeding, picking. There's tons of food of varieties of different edible plants for them in cuttings, clear cuts, and obviously swamp-like environments, and obviously food plots or fields in general. The deer are flocking to fields all over the place, like where there's still some green up, still that greenery. We've been having a lot of rain lately, and we had a major drought that we all, of those of you that are from Maine, we all, if you live in Maine here with me now on this live stream, we all know about the drought that just went by. We're still kind of suffering from that drought in a way, in a sense, but the rains, these fall rains, have helped tremendously. A lot of the rain, moisture, so the grasses and clovers and other herbaceous type, your sheep sorrel, your sorrels and plantain and other stuff, other herbaceous type vegetation, that's still green right now. So sorrel, plantain, clover, all your different white and red clovers, different type of grass species. And there's the wild. Let's see what else. Plantain. That's those leaves. That's more in the wood setting, woodsy type setting, not out in the fields. But I think, did I mention? Well, no, no. That's. Yeah, anyways, yeah, so anything green, man. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Like right now, the deer are just flocking to fields right now. So Game Dynasty is mostly same here. Let's see. Jason is correct. But a water hole between food and bedding during the rut can be a powerful attraction. Yes, it can. Obviously, during the rut, the whitetail bucks, your bucks are going to drink a lot more in the rut than they would probably most other times of the year, and also the hottest time. Well, I found buck beds right next to a stream, trickling, flowing stream water, like where the buck could be laying right here, and he could just be this. Yeah, sometimes these mature bucks, they're homebodies and they're lazy and they don't get up and move much. But I found buck beds in swamps where they were laying right next to the water. They could just lean over, get some water. And there was things they could eat and graze on right there. While just laying there, there's stuff they could nibble on, eat. And they had water, and they had thick cover. They had everything they need right there. They didn't need to get up, move much, or move far. And so, yeah, let's see. Yeah, been a weird year here in Maine. Took me a few days to sort it out. Seen plenty of deer and decent bucks, but not the big one I've been after. Yeah, I wasn't seeing getting. I did 8 game dinah. This is for you. I did 8 days of full sitting in the stand and not seeing a single buck. I'd been doing some periodic call-in sequences, and I've had does come and take a look. Had does nearby I could have shot, but I passed a small little barely legal spike buck from my tree saddle on one of my full day all day sits. I'd called him in. Actually, he come right under me. You may have seen little clips of that buck actually on the most recent uploads of my YouTube channel. I uploaded the last couple uploads. I used a B-roll shot of that buck, the little spike buck under my saddle. So you may have seen that. But I had called him in. He come right to the calls, and then almost a quarter mile or more from where I was in that tree saddle, I was on one of my clover little clover fields, hunting my blind on a rainy day. It was raining, and that same little spike buck popped out in front of my blind. I passed him again. I could have legally shot that little spike buck in archery season. I passed him twice, passed some does I could have legally shot. I could have made it a 3-doe year. So I passed some does, but I sat 8 days, full all-day sits, standing in areas where I knew darn well the bucks that I was after had come periodically frequented, and I was hunting near a couple of his bedding areas and areas where he fed. And I never seen him, the buck I was after. I didn't see any decent bucks for that matter at all, sitting all day long. So yeah, it was a tough season for me, but I still managed to get 3 deer. See, Corpseman Will says, I've had a hard time this year. Sat out a lot of evenings, only got a small buck that walked out during rifle season opened. A buddy of mine had a piece of property he took me out on. Nice. It was public land. It was brutal, and it's only archery or shotgun here. So many guys in and out all the time. So you have a lot of hunting disturbance, a lot of human disturbance, sounds like. So Corpseman Will just chimed in, Jason, and Game Dinah, and Joe, and all of you that are still with us live. He's hunting an area that's archery and shotgun only. And he's saying there's a lot of guys in and out all the time. And yeah, too much human disturbance can alter the deer didn't disappear. The deer aren't gone. A lot of people have that misconception that the deer completely disappeared, gone off the face of the earth when they're not seeing anything because of human disturbance. But the deer just altered their travel patterns. They're using different trails. They're sticking to thicker cover. Those deer they're holding tight to the thickest, most densest part and areas on that property that you're hunting. And stuff that most hunters won't even get on their hands and knees to crawl through. But you'd have to, if you own some chest waders, I recommend wearing some hip boot waders or chest waders and crossing some streams, rivers, get into the swamp-like settings, get out into the swamps in the thickest, most nastiest, densest place in the area, and you'll get on some deer. You'll start seeing deer all of a sudden. Or let's see, what else did he say? So I've just been sitting in the archery only areas. We're going, and they've all moved to the shotgun. Oh, so you're saying, so Corpseman Will says he's sat archery only areas, but the deer then moved. But the deer moved on back to the shotgun area. Is that what you're experiencing? That would suck. That would suck for anyone to be sitting in one area, thinking you hit pay dirt, you're going to see deer, you're going to make it happen, and all the deer are on another area totally, completely. I think that's kind of how my hunting season went this year. especially with doing those all-day sits and not only seeing anything but maybe a couple does or a doe here and there and a little spike buck. But let's see. Jason Gibson says, Joe, I don't have one yet, but on wild land, seen a lot of activity on water holes between feeding and bedding areas. Oh wait, it says, okay, I have some pebble walk throw my spot. My area almost shot a 5-point. He heard me, Jason. Now have a dog roaming. So what do you have, a dog roaming your area, Joe? Joe Dutill. Let's see, he says. Okay. Let's see, I've been live for like 80 minutes. I should probably end this live stream. It's past my bedtime, and I gotta get up early for work. So my email is wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. WILDMAINEOUTDOORS. So wildmaineoutdoors@gmail.com. So I've been live long enough, everybody. So I want to say, if those of you that are with me, that and maybe if you're new to my live stream, I go live every Monday night from 9 to 10. Sometimes past 10, past my bedtime. But I shared the email because if you're just joining now and you missed earlier in the live stream, I shared a story. So I say success story, a really good story too. So I'd like to share your success stories and share your picks. So and you can join the chat and chat with everybody and chime in. We can all answer one another's questions. I'm trying to build a hunting, fishing community around Spikes and Gills live stream. A live stream that's a community filled with hunters and fishermen like yourself. And I'm going live every Monday night. So Jason's saying good luck and happy hunting all. Have a good night, Jason. Thanks for joining. Thanks for coming back on. And in my descriptions below all my videos, obviously there's my books, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets, and the Sixth Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. The PayPal links to order my books, Wild Maine Outdoors, Hunting Tactics, Tricks, and Secrets, and the Sit Spot, Discovering the Forest Near You. PayPal links for that are in the descriptions below all my videos. And you can click on the shopping icon below all the videos to browse the hoodies and shirts for Spikes and Gills. So I wish everyone happy hunting, happy safe hunting the rest of the way. If you have tags to fill yet, I wish you the best of luck. And thank you for joining me this Monday night. I go live every Monday night, 9 to 10. So everyone have a good night, and I'll see you next Monday.